Hello and welcome to Quaternion. Sorry for that delay if you just joined. I was just setting up some stuff but decided to get the stream started while I was doing that, so sorry for that delay. I'm Michael and today I am going to be driving this lovely Leyland Fleetline or Daimler Fleetline in OMSI, the original OMSI, which has just recently celebrated its first anniversary. So this isn't OMSI 2 that you find on Steam, this is the original OMSI, which came out on the 18th of February 2011 and which you could buy from the Aerosoft shop or from simmarket.de. I don't know where else you could buy it from, but those are the two places I know of. And funny story, I bought it from both of those two places because I lost my Aerosoft product key and then rebought it on SimMarket, or it might have been the other way around. Anyway, I'm going just setting up the destination display because I'm going to do route 73 from Cyberport to Stanley in the HK, which is Hong Kong South left-hand drive or left-hand traffic, that should really be map. And I am just realized I'm using the number page up and page down buttons to set the destination on this bus, but I forgot this bus came with a unique feature, which is you could actually set the destinations from inside by just looking through the holes and scrolling the destinations as you would in real life, looking through the peepholes there. So I'm looking for Stanley. So I'm just gonna keep scrolling until I find it. Oh, I think that's Stanley. Jump out the bus. Oh wow, I got it perfect. First time, which is quite a rare thing to do if I do say so myself. As you've noticed, the passengers have a strange way of getting in to buses.
Entschuldigen Sie, ich wollte gerne eine Fahrkarte haben.
And I forgot to turn off ticket selling.
Danke.
So I have to use the easy ticket selling for now. But I'm going to just go and turn off ticket selling for now to make it a bit more straightforward for the rest of my stops. Just because it doesn't properly, this bus wasn't properly set up for ticket selling. Noob mistake I just made there. Don't turn off the ticket selling, the easy ticket selling, till you've actually boarded all the passengers. Otherwise, they're not gonna get on, because you need to be able to use the ticket selling for them to get on, and you need to click on the money to get rid of it, because for some reason the shortcut button doesn't always work. So this bus is from the 80s, but it was originally designed as the Leyland Atlantean back in the late 50s actually. And as such, it is a bus that had quite a long manufacturing run, shall we say, although the Fleetline is a different variant, and I'm not an expert on buses of this era, so I can't really tell you the main differences between a Fleetline and an Atlantean. But this is a Fleetline, very similar to the Atlantean. Lovely old bus, and the reason I've decided to drive this bus today is I had a dream that I was driving one with my mum, which is quite interesting. So that's the reason that I chose to drive one in OMSI today. I've got my wiper turned on for some reason. Let's give it a good wash. Right. Listen to that roar. Smoke from out of the back of the bus. Pollution on levels that simply wouldn't be acceptable today. So this is the self-changing gears variant, so I simply have to pop it in drive and stop washing my windscreen and off I go. And it will change the gears for me. So all I have to do is drive it as any modern bus. Though if this were real life, I would have this large and almost unwieldy steering wheel to contend with. Might want to turn on the interior lights. The passengers. Oh, I didn't set up a timetable. But given that buses like this wouldn't run in public service, let's just run it as a sort of extra bus. No timetable to worry about, just an extra classic bus on the road for the passengers to enjoy. Give a beep to the other bus as it goes past. Squeal of the brakes and the air release from the handbrake. Lovely. So I now have a blog which you can check out. I forgot to turn the ticket selling back off. And just going to pop that into the chat. So if you are interested in finding out what I get up to when I'm not gaming or otherwise making videos for this channel, you can have a look at my blog. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Check it out and you'll see what's on it. If I give it all away here, there'll be no reason for you to go and have a look, will there? I simply love these older buses. Although my favourites, as I've said in previous videos, are buses with ZF Ethernet gearboxes, I also love these old noisy buses that go between every gear change. Now, in the UK, at least from my experience of later buses, this type of gearbox was known as a Leyland hydrocyclic gearbox, but in this particular bus it's a self-changing gearbox. I am going to turn that ticket selling off after this stop. I keep forgetting. Right, off it goes because tickets generally aren't sold in Hong Kong and I just want to enjoy the drive without dealing with fares at the moment. Sorry for the lack of content. I've been busy with real life kind of stuff. I'm currently in the middle of applying to be a bus driver in real life, which is a lifelong goal of mine. And so I've been busy with interviews and medicals and stuff like that. So I haven't had time to keep up with the channel and post something every week as I said I would. I'm really sorry for that. But sometimes life gets in the way of the creation process of content for YouTube and things like that. So basically I will try and keep to my promise in future, but that's how life is, and sometimes we can't do everything. Speaking of which, apparently this bus cannot climb hills. It's really struggling. The smoke pouring out of the back. It's just chugging its way up the hill. So, a bit of history. This is obviously in the China motor bus livery, which is the predecessor to City Bus, and so it is appropriately running what would be nowadays, and certainly was at the time that this map was made, a good few years ago now, a City Bus Hong Kong route. So back to the in-cab view, which is the realistic place to be and my favourite place to generally drive from. In this bus you've got separate wipers for each side, which is quite interesting. And I keep hitting my windscreen washer on accident, so that's not very good. I love the sound of this bus as you give it a ride. Got your little indicator tab there. Missing textures on that bus there because it's taking its time to load in. Funnily enough, you don't need to lift your foot between gear changes because it automatically cuts the throttle for you on gear changes. Unfortunately, you don't get the passengers entering the bus properly, and unfortunately, being a Hong Kong bus, there is no heating, so I can't turn the heating on to keep the passengers warm. It has been an incredibly long time since I've driven this route. And so if I miss any stops, it is totally due to that fact. And we've got here a CMB stop, and the brakes on this not being what they should be, kind of overshot it, but no passengers are getting on anyway. Correctly, this is my turning. True 80s tradition. Open the door before you reach the stop and stop 3 feet from the curb. Of course I wouldn't do that in real life, but just having a bit of fun here.
Guten Tag.
Drive a bit more. I'm going to drive as true to life as I can now. Whoops. Other than mistaking some of the controls. It's hard to negotiate this through the call them cones, I suppose. Try doing it with a 12-meter double decker.
Hallo.
Hello.
Aufwändige Scheiße.
It's always amusing how the passengers go straight
Haben Sie
through
nicht
the
sowas wie eine
bus.
Heizung hier im Bus? Ist ganz schön kalt hier.
Hello.
Abend.
Abend. That's the 48 terminus, but I'm not sure. I don't think that's my stop. Certainly not a bus that's gonna get you any speeding tickets. No, no one's coming. Don't quite know what this car's doing crashing into me because I did. It was in the other lane. So I'll have to call the local constabulary to sort out the matter. Right, all sorted, we get back on our way now. I think bus drivers these days have it easy compared to when buses like this were the norm. Just the slowness of it. Hi Leo, glad you could join me for the stream. Yes, it is a Leyland Fleetline 1980s Hong Kong bus in the livery of China Motor Bus, running on the 73 from Cyberport to Stanley in Hong Kong. And this is about the fastest this bus is probably going to get today. Funnily enough, this is a bus that you can drive in OMSI 2, but this map only works in OMSI 1, which is what I'm using today. My apologies if I'm not following the route correctly. As I say, it's been a long time since I've done the route, and I am not in the mood to use the route helpers because it spoils the realism. I'll let the passengers out if I can figure out which button opens the back doors. There we go. Of course, as with lots of left-hand traffic maps, they go through the bus when they get out. Hello, hi Ace, where are you going? This was a map that was notable in having different pedestrian characters, like you see the children and the man wearing a face covering that looks like a bus driver. Those weren't your standard OMSI 1 pedestrians. So it's nice to see someone giving a bit of variety by changing the defaults for the map that they made. One problem with anything other than a traditional automatic gearbox in OMSI or OMSI 2 is the passengers complain when the gear changes, which is something you don't have, like you can't make it any smoother than whatever it is. So it's not really something that you can do anything about. Yeah, it is quite a difficult map to drive on because you've got the fast moving traffic, which is typical of Hong Kong from what I've seen from YouTube videos, and lots of lanes that disappear, and you've got all of that to negotiate in a bus that, well, in this case, doesn't have enough power to barely keep up with the traffic. Or indeed, the braking power to stop if the traffic did something unexpected. So you've got to keep your distance a bit more than you would and plan your moves a bit more than you would in a modern bus. probably do the return route in a more modern bus just to show the contrast. Keep forgetting my stops are the city bus stops, not the CMB stops. And actually, I made a mistake earlier on. City bus is not the successor of China Motor Bus. New World First Bus is. So I'm actually driving a bus that would not have had any connection to the company that actually runs this route, but whatever, it's OMSI. Let's take artistic license and drive the bus we want to drive on the route we want to drive, because in real life it doesn't work like that. These overpasses that you get, they're just so interesting, and that car's gonna pull out. That's what I mean, if traffic does something unexpected, this is not exactly the bus you want to be driving. But this is what people had to drive back in the day, and I like it, so it comes with its challenges, and it just makes you appreciate how easy modern buses are to drive in comparison. Gotta love that screech from the brakes. If you don't love it, then this is not the bus for you. Now to our right, just over there you can see the city bus depot. I believe that's the Appalachian depot. I believe. With the lovely Network 26 branded buses. I always find this a bit interesting where it goes from a 3-lane down to a 2-lane down to a single carriageway. I mean 3 lanes in each direction to 2 lanes to 1 lane in each direction. Now the challenge as we rise up into the countryside. We're doing a respectable 30 miles an hour. I'm impressed. Now, will we be able to start after this stop is the question.
Hello.
Hello. Whoops. Sorry, didn't see you there for a minute. Well, the start was okay. It's making reasonable progress, but the hill is leveling out, so... This is my favourite part of the route. You wind through the coast road, which is so pretty. And there we have the Enviro 400. Of course, as with every map I drive, I customize the AI traffic to my liking, because that's part of the beauty of OMSI. You can change the AI list so you see the traffic that you want to see. I always try to pick traffic that would be expected to be seen in the location of the map. And I believe this was meant to have Olympians, Volvo or Leyland Olympians, running the service, but I've changed it so it has more modern buses, just to give it a more 21st century rather than late 90s feel. As much as I love the buses of the late 90s. In fact, I'm going to drive one of the buses of the late 90s after this. I'm going to take a Leyland Olympian for a spin. And then later on I will be doing a heist in GTA 5 with one of, or GTA Online I should say, with one of my friends. So that should break up the bus-related theme we've been having lately. But of course I am a bus enthusiast, so buses are going to feature heavily in this channel. It's nice to get a run like this where you don't have to stop as you're climbing the hill. It just makes it so nice and smooth. I see we have 146,040 on the clock. I wonder how many times that odometer has gone round. I'm sure this bus must have about 3 million miles on the clock. If people could indicate at roundabouts, that would be lovely. Oh, we have the lovely line livery on the Enviro that just went by. I think line is Hong Kong or China's, or both. I think it's their version of WhatsApp, but I could be wrong. I remember when I used to run OMSI on a less powerful PC on this map, so I had my traffic turned quite low and I used to just fly through this road. But with the traffic set at a level that is probably more realistic and that this fairly modern PC of mine can handle, you're lucky if you get past 20 miles an hour for any length of time. I believe this stop is called Repulse Bay, but I'm not quite sure. But certainly it's our first stop since we left the main kind of city area. there's another line liveried Enviro. Got to remember to cancel your signals on this bus because they don't auto-cancel. And I don't know, honestly, if you can actually hear me over the sound of this bus. I do need to invest in headphones at some point. I just love using my massive speakers. I find it very immersive. Alright, thanks Leo for letting me know that the audio's fine. Just love the way this bus literally screams at you as you reach its top speed of about 40-45 miles an hour. It's a sound you don't hear anymore. These modern buses tend to be so quiet, so restrained. They don't make that much noise. Their emphasis is on making them as quiet as possible. And the most modern of buses, I would say it would be electric buses, which just make a kind of... I don't know how to describe it other than an electric noise. On a country road where everyone has to stop because some people are turning. That view of the town below is just breathtaking. See, people say, or some people say, OMSI's graphics are not that good, but just look at that and tell me that that's not beautiful. Now managing to get quite a bit of speed out of the old girl until we reach this mega bend. guess the Toyota Fun Cargo doesn't come with indicator lights. Oh, we have two Enviros coming out of Stanley. Both on the 73. Now who's running late and who's running early? Or on time? Just to show you, I'm riding the brakes as we come down this hill. We will need new brake shoes after this. Yeah, that's quite right. You can't say that the graphics in OMSI are bad if it's actually your computer that's not up to running it any better. I always forget which way to go in here, but I think it's this way. I think I'll let the passengers off out here. Last stop, please remember to take your belongings with you. Now I shall get the AI driver to take over this bus, and I'll grab another bus. If I can find the button. Did I press the right button? Yeah, I did. I think. Or not. I just delete this first. Could leave it spawned, but OMSI has a tendency of just having traffic not pass a bus even if it's parked in a bus stop. So it will lag and run out of RAM if I don't delete the bus before spawning a new one. Although if I parked it somewhere like a depot, I could spawn a new one, because then it wouldn't cause a traffic holdup. OMSI 1 is just intent on taking 20 minutes to load the new bus screen and give me errors, and it's actually crashed. So I'm just going to have to quickly end this with the task manager and reload it to do the return trip. Let's see if the task manager will actually end it. There we go. Now let's reload, and it will give me a chance to show you guys what the map is actually called. So it's called, this is what you'll need to search for, because I don't have an active link for this. And if I do find an active link, I will add it to the description or in a comment at a later date. But the name you need to search for is FF3170-HKSouthRHD. I think I put it as LHD in the title, which was a mistake, but anyway, that is what you need to search for. And it does have a long list of routes, but the only one I really know, and the one I always focus on, is the 73. The reason for that is I saw it in a YouTube video. I saw that coastal road and I fell in love with the route, and when I saw that this map was here and you could drive it in OMSI, I was so excited. I got the first version of this map, which used the default buses that came with OMSI, these ones that you see on the screen in the loading screen. And of course you drove on the right instead of the left. Then later, once smart people figured out how to make it possible to drive on the left, and right-hand drive buses, this map was made or converted by the guy or girl, I think it was a guy, called FF, that goes by the name of FF3170 on the HKBF Hong Kong bus forums, and that's where I got this map from when I was a member. That's sad that you've only got OMSI 2, Leo. I don't know if you can still buy the original OMSI on the Aerosoft store or on simmarket.de. I'm not sure. Is it worth buying it in 2020? I'd say only if you, like me, have a specific map that you want to run. That era I know I can ignore. Unless you have a specific map or maps that you want to run that won't run on OMSI 2, which this map, I've tried it in OMSI 2 till I was blue in the face, and it probably needs some kind of editing that I do not know and don't have the time, or I'm not willing to spend the time to figure out to make it work in OMSI 2. And since I have OMSI 1, I'm just like, I'll just use OMSI 1, because most, not all, but most of the Hong Kong type buses are compatible with OMSI 1, even if they were made more recently, because of things like map incompatibilities. And I guess the Hong Kong OMSI community wants to be more inclusive of those that might have had OMSI 1 but didn't afford to upgrade to OMSI 2. And considering the main features that OMSI 2 brings aren't really necessary for a Hong Kong map, which was mostly having buses, articulated buses, there is no need for many people to get the newer one. Of course I did, and I'm glad I did, but yeah, so as I say, unless you have a map that won't run in OMSI 2, I couldn't really say that it's worth getting OMSI 1 in 2021. But if you do, then if you can find it and you can afford it, go for it, I'd say. While my copy shows you every conceivable reason why you wouldn't want to buy it by just going blank all the time. Well, let's keep with the China motor bus theme and drive this bus if I have the correct depot file. Yes, I do. So we shall start from Stanley and we shall do a quick run back to Cyberport, if I can remember the way. I think I can. Because of the dual carriageway system, it's not as straightforward as just go back the way you came. You do need to remember which slip road to take and when. But let's see if I can get this to display a number and a destination for us. Here we go. And we have Stanley Fort, Repulse Bay, Wafu, Ocean Park, someone. Aberdeen, Shekwan Y, and I shouldn't have opened the door because passengers are getting in before I've even set the correct destination, but they can always get off as well. Right, let's somehow jump in over the passengers, get the lights on so they stop complaining about the lack of light. Rev it up because there's no air pressure in this bus, in the braking system. everything else about the layout was the same. Obviously they didn't have air conditioning, but we had this same seat and that seat right there where you could see the driver. That was my favourite seat to sit in as a kid, and occasionally sat there. Then of course the best seat, the front seat upstairs above the driver. Right, that should be enough air pressure for us to get going. It's got similar wipers to the Fleetline. Let's put her in drive, parking brake off, and off we go. Cummins LT10 engine, I believe, with the ZF EcoMat 5 HP or 4 HP, and the characteristic creaking when braking. Ooh, that's a BMW. Sometimes OMSI physics shock me. I was nowhere near that car, and the hitbox of this bus must be somewhat wider than the actual bus. Time to call the police again. Well, while we're here, take a look at the lovely air-conditioned bus branding, because it was a big thing in the early 90s when air-conditioned transport came to Hong Kong to allow passengers to travel in comfort in the heat of the summer months, which is most of the year, I believe, in Hong Kong. Somehow the hitbox didn't catch me out there. Could be the hitbox of the car that's at fault, to be honest.
Hallo.
Hello.
Hallo.
Hello. Oh, I need to let passengers out. I forgot that they always want to get off the bus after an accident. Understandably so, I would guess. If you're wondering the reason why the blinds don't quite fit, they were designed for a different bus, and I just literally copied them to different folders so that this bus could display a destination. Basically the OMSI equivalent of taking the blinds from a different type of bus and fitting them to this bus. So this is a 1980s, late 80s bus, I believe, early 90s, not quite sure which, but the Leyland Olympian was built from, I believe, 1981 until 1993. My all-time favorite versions were the ones with the Cummins L10 or LT10 engine and the ZF EcoMat gearbox. Lovely sound, plenty of power, especially these Hong Kong versions with more powerful engines to hold the weight of the air conditioning unit and to cope with the country's hills. Typically of a ZF gearbox of this age, this one's showing a bit of signs of slipping, but it's still more than capable of putting the power to the ground. As you can see, it's getting stuck in certain gears, but it's very much capable of cruising along happily roads, and once we get to a straighter section, be able to show you hopefully the top speed of this bus. If the gearbox would change gears. There we go. Takes a bit of prodding, but eventually it does shift up. Characteristic cash tray shuddering and the beautiful view of the flats below. Just give a quick exterior view of the bus as we drive along. You can hear the gearbox struggling and changing up and down. Actually not going as quickly as you'd expect because of that gearbox fault. And because I remapped my controls in OMSI 2 compared to this, I keep hitting the windscreen control when I think I'm hitting the reset camera. And there we have an Enviro climbing its way up. Right, just as the gearbox seems to be fixed, we have a bus stop. Just going to put it into neutral while we're at the stop, and then put it into drive when we're ready to go. Hopefully that will fix the issues. Seems to be a lot more responsive now. Down below, the lovely tower blocks characteristic of Hong Kong. Hong Kong is really a place I'd love to visit once life goes back to somewhat normal and we're allowed to do things like visit other countries. So as you can see, this bus is capable of 55 miles an hour, albeit downhill. Compared to the other one's 45. I think given enough room and without a speed limiter, this will probably reach 60. I'll take it on another stream on a map which has a motorway section so we can see what it's really capable of doing when you keep your foot down for long enough. But it's very pleasant to drive around town. Yes, Leo, it is very quick. It's perfect for keeping up with modern traffic in spite of being about at least 20 years old, well, at least 30 years old, I should say. Being in service until about 2012, I believe. It's shocking to me to think they're now about 30 years old at the newest, really. Like the newest a Leyland Olympian could be is about 1994. So we're talking around 25, 26, 27 years old. OMSI interesting. You can have things like gearboxes not behaving themselves just like you would in real life. It's not all predictable and perfect, because no bus in real life ever is, no vehicle in real life ever is 100% predictable and perfect. Practicing in OMSI, both 1 and 2, really gives you a sense of you need to plan. Yes, this is a Leyland bus, Olympian. I'll just get around this bend and show you what it looks like. See? Well, not this bend, but the next one. Driving on the 73 from Stanley to Cyberport in the Hong Kong South map. I think I can quickly show you a bit of the bus as we go around this bend. And a bit of the front. Back to driving. As I was saying, driving in OMSI gives you a sense of how to drive when the traffic around you does not really make any allowances for you to make a mistake. For example, if you are going around a corner in a long bus like this and your bus happens to cross to the other side of the road, the cars and buses coming the other way are not usually going to stop. They're not going to move out of your way. So it's your job to make sure that you don't go into their path. Whereas in real life, of course, someone driving the other way would notice this and would make allowances for you and give room, assuming they're being courteous in their driving. So you've really got to make your decisions wisely in OMSI. And apparently, I possibly should have been in the other lane. confused there. Probably confused anyone that was behind me. Imagine if OMSI was multiplayer. That would be quite a lot of fun. I know about Sim 18 is, but it's just different. It's okay, and I do enjoy it, mostly because of the multiplayer, but it doesn't have the realism that you get in OMSI. I'm gonna do a trick that I saw bus drivers doing when I was growing up, of holding the pedal, the accelerator pedal with the parking brake down to give you a quick launch when the traffic light turns green. Although they mostly did it on hills. Now I think this is one of my stops here. Yeah. Don't think I'm doing too badly considering the last time I practiced this route was about quite a number of years ago. Tall buildings in the distance load in, but once they've loaded in, just beautiful. We have quite a number of passengers here.
Hallo.
Hello.
Können Sie die Heizung bitte anmachen?
Die Heizung? Können Sie wenigstens die Heizung anmachen hier?
You know what? I have the perfect solution to that complaint. If I can find the right one, there we go. This area of Hong Kong is known as Aberdeen, but I'm not 100% sure.
Guten Tag.
do know that there is a slip road I came onto this road with. Yeah, I know quite a bit about Hong Kong. I first got into it. It's a funny story. I was looking online. This was back in the 2000 or something like that. I was a kid looking online, and I came across a website called Oriental Model Buses. And being a kid, I didn't know what model buses were. So I didn't know that what I was looking at were not real life buses. When I figured out that that's what it was, that they were little scale models with detail that I'd never seen in my life, I just wondered, where are these buses from? And I realized that they're buses that run in Hong Kong. Buses like this with 3 axles instead of 2, quite different and yet similar to what I was used to in the UK. I was used to buses with 2 doors, being from a city that, one of the few cities that still had buses with 2 doors. I was used to Leyland Olympians and Volvo Olympians. I'd never seen them with an extra axle. So I kept reading about them and absorbing all the knowledge about these exciting buses that I'd seen first in model form. Which, when I first looked at them, as I said, I didn't even realize they weren't real. Alright, hi Ace. You managed to pass me to make me slow down and make me almost stop on the hill. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm almost 100% sure that the next slip road is the one I need to take. This bus handles the hills a lot better than the other one. Although it would be handling it even better if a certain Toyota Hiace didn't decide to play some games. But that's life. Can't complain. That's the realism of it. Yeah. Is it this slip road actually? It's time to cheat and find out. 73S goes that way. Yes, it is this slip road. So I was right when I said it's this slip road. Imagine stopping traffic to open a map to figure out whether it's your turn. Just zoom in on that lovely scrolling destination this way. Excuse me, car, why have you crashed into me? Is there a problem? Oh dear me. Yeah, I'm 5 feet from the curb, that's the problem. Still, he could have waited. down the road we go before another one does it. Get as close to the curve as possible this time. Well, I got the front close enough, but the back not so much. This and not live streaming, I would put in a counter to show how many times I pressed the windscreen washer button instead of the reset camera button. I think we'd be at about 60 by now. Bit of naughty revving there. Is that the bus stop here actually? Let me get in closer to the curve. Let's see how I did. Not too bad if I do say so myself. Only 1 foot from the curve this time. Well, 2 feet I'd say. Okay, what hit me? Really? Where did they teach him to drive buses? Right, I'm going to move forward. Well, madam, jump in quickly, let's go. Bus decides to hit us.
Hallo.
Hello. Passenger arrives that was not there the second I wanted to press the door button. If I recall correctly, if you take the slip road after the one we took, it would bring you out to this road. Just whacked my microphone stand as I turned the wheel. Now we're on the home stretch. The skyscrapers of Cyberport, or rather the high-rise flats of Cyberport, are visible in the distance. And we've just got a few more stops till we're done with our journey. I don't know about you watching, but I've certainly really enjoyed this. I mean, I enjoy every drive I do in OMSI, but this, for some reason, really had fun. Oh, didn't know there was a passenger. Sorry, sir, didn't see you there. kind of have to ride the brake a little bit, but not as much because the ZF gearbox, yes I am Michael Schumacher, how did you know? The ZF gearbox holds your speed a lot better than the other one, so it doesn't run away as much. Now this is the second to last stop, I believe. Thought they were going to pull out there. Yep, there's the Cyberport terminus, and we have another bus coming in. Says not in service. Possibly off to start a run on the night version. It's got passengers on board, so it might just be a case of missing destination display files. Ignore this obvious unrealistic thing that's happening over there. These traffic lights that change to amber 2 seconds after green. Reminds me of the J Hus song, came in a black Benz, left in a white one. I came in a Fleetline and come back in an Olympian. Too far from the curb, but I wanted the bus to be lined up straight. And I kind of failed on that point as well. But look at that dual steering angle we've got there. Lovely. Gleaming chrome wheel trims. Of course, someone polished them before we took the bus out. And then we've got the lovely Cummins engine detail right here, and it's all round full 3D engine detail. And if you listen carefully, you can hear the beeping from the cab telling us that we're not gaining any air pressure because the bus is off. There should also be beeping telling us these compartments are open, but apparently that's not included, but that is still a really nice detail there. We've got the rather blurry coat of arms or crest. But yes, this has been me driving the 73 with 2 old Leyland buses. I hope you've enjoyed it. Do check out Quaternian's website, quaternian.info. We will be having more features on that website soon. And also check out my blog, michaelmayaka.uk. And I hope you've enjoyed this live stream, and I hope to see you in the next one, or indeed the next pre-recorded video. Have a good evening and goodbye.